Hello, DIYers and my Dollar Tree crafters. As I promised, the felt hat for the snowbird, and this is the video, the DIY for that. These are the items you're going to need. You'll need the lid from your apothecary jar or from your mason jar, whichever one you may be using to make your snowbird globe. You will need your scissors, magic marker. You'll need pencil and some kind of cardboard. Like I used the E6000 board that was left over from opening the package. And you're going to trace out your lid on that. You need something firm and stiff to support the integrity of the hat. You will need a sheet of cardstock. You can also use a file folder, an old file folder. Will work just fine. You just need that stiffness so that the hat will stay upright and stand on its own. You are going to be using your Dollar Tree fleece scarf. This is one that I had already in the previous video, and I was going to show you how to use it. Now, you can also use felt. If you are using the felt packages and you just need one sheet of felt, potentially you can make two of this size hat with one sheet of the felt and one sheet of cardstock. Or, you can make several out of this fleece scarf because of the length of it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your lid. You're going to go ahead and draw a circle onto your board, your cardboard. And it don't need to be any stiffer than this. If you're using a Manilla Folder, you can do it on that. You can just trace out and cut that circle. So I've already got that pre-traced. And then the measurements that you're going to have on your cardstock or your Manilla Folder, whichever you may be using, you're going to need a 4-inch wide piece. Now, I've got 4 inches marked there because I also have it sub-marked. So that you'll need a 4-inch piece that's the length of the sheet, the whole 11 inches. Now, the one part, we're going to cut this off so this other part can be saved and used for another hat. But on this section, you want to go ahead and mark 1/2 inch up and draw your line all the way across the length. And then at the upper part, you want to mark it a 1-inch section and draw your line all the way to the end of it. The reason why is because when we start making this, see how I've got these cut all the way around, these little cuts? You're going to do that on this proportion, this 1 inch. You're going to do the 1-inch section, and you're going to do the 1/2 inch section. But we need to do it in the rightful order, because if you don't, then you're going to have to do it in parts and pieces as I started out, because I was really, shooting from the hip to make this felt hat and just kind of working it out on my own. I made 3 in parts and pieces, and then for you, I'm going to do it the short way so that it's easy for you to just go right to it and make it. So I'm going to cut this off, and then we're also going to need a 2.5-inch wide strip by 11 inches of your fleece scarf. That's the first piece you're going to cut. You're also going to take your cardboard, and if you want to, you can glue the fleece directly onto the cardboard and then cut out your circle, because that's going to be this part, the top of the hat. And then do not disturb wherever you cut the circle out on your fleece. Don't disturb that, because I'm going to show you how to do rounded sections that will fit around the brim and make the brim of the hat. So wherever you cut this circle out, you want to make sure that you have plenty of distance left on your scarf going, so that we can cut these small pieces that you'll need to make the brim. Okay, so I'm going to cut mine out, and I'll be right back. Okay, one thing I forgot to add is at this point, once you cut your piece, your 4-inch piece, at the 1/2 inch mark, you're going to go ahead and fold it. You want to fold it this way. You can use your ruler to kind of hold it there while you fold it over. Then you're going to go ahead and cut little tabs. They can be, I don't know, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch all the way across there. You just want to make sure that you cut it pretty often, because as you roll this and fold it, you know, you start turning it to go in a circle circumference, you're going to be able to bend it, and it's going to allow for that because you're going to be gluing it along the way. Additionally, go ahead and the upper part, your 1-inch part, you want to fold it the opposite direction and make this a soft fold. You don't want to hard crease this. You just want to fold this so that it's folded all the way across there and make a soft crease on it. And then you're going to go ahead and cut those tabs. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be right back. Go ahead and have your glue gun warmed up and be ready to start, you know, getting your glue warm. Put it on low temp. And if you're using the Gorilla Glue, you'll have a little more tack. If you're using the other, you're going to have to move kind of fast. You don't have much setup time, but you're going to use a low temp on your glue gun. Okay, so be right back. Go ahead and bend and then cut your tabs all the way up to the crease. If you go past the crease, don't sweat it, because remember, this is going to be inside of the hat. No one's going to see it. You know, it's just to form the hat, make it and preserve its integrity so that it sits firm like this. Even though this is done with felt, felt is a little more firmer, so you can see you can do it in parts and pieces. If you're using a Manilla Folder, it's not going to matter which you use, whether you use felt or fleece. But the fleece is a little more softer and, you know, bendable and stretchable, and so you're going to need, you know, the whole section there. You're going to need this piece, this 2.5 inch wide strip. So we're going to glue our strips on there once we get everything set. The main thing is to get this attached to our top, and so that's why you want to go ahead and clip these marks, and then this is going to be the brim, so all this will come together, I promise. I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, so what I did is on my board that I'm going to use for my hat top, I marked it on both sides because I am using this fleece scarf. And number one, I'm really stingy because I want to be able to use this for a lot more other things, fillers and just whatever I want to use it for. But if I've got it marked on both sides and I just kind of cut it into a square and then made the circle on both sides, that way I'm not over gluing. You're just going to glue where you need glue on this and place it on here. And remember what I told you, we don't want to do the square, we want to do it in a circle. Because when we cut this out on the underside, when we cut this off, we are going to actually be using the round that's left over to make the brim of our hat. So go ahead and glue that down and cut your piece out. Go ahead and cut your 2.5 inch strip out of your scarf, and go ahead and do your clip your tabs and have those ready so that when we start attaching the hat top, we'll be ready, and you'll be able to glue it and go around. And I'll show you when I start mine and then go back. Okay, so at this point we have glued our cardboard down to we put our fleece onto our round cardboard disc, and we have prepared our paper, and we have our glue gun going. Now you're going to have it close and on low temp, as I said before. This strip, you do not want to put this on for 2 reasons. Number one, it's going to make it difficult moving around this disc to glue these little tabs in place and get the paper to bend if you've got this on here. And the second reason is because up here at the upper top of the edging, it will get, this fleece is very forgiving. If you needed to, you could pull it and then glue it against the strip so that they don't even look like they were 2 separate pieces. At this point, I'm going to begin gluing. This tab, the short tab, is going to go to the underneath of this disc. The wide tab is for our brim. That's why it's folded the opposite way. So at this point, you're going to start using this tab, and this will allow you to bend and go around the whole outer circumference of your hat top. Okay, so I'm going to start that. I'll come back and show you a few pieces and then show you how it works out. Okay, so at this point, if you've been gluing around the circumference, you're starting to see your hat come into form. And you see how these tabs are built on the opposite side, and that's where your brim's going to be. So at this point, you know, you've been working around slowly, and basically the circumference that we did for the top is determining your destination as well as the length. So what you're going to do is anything that's extra, you're going to just glue it together, and don't sweat it. I can't do this one-handed, and unfortunately I don't have a setup in here to where I can set this on a tripod and film it. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll go to our next step. Okay, if everyone's been following directions and keeping up with how this goes, you can see that you're just going to run a little bead of glue right here on the strip and close it up. And this is what your little hat should be looking like. So as you can see how that top edge, sometimes you just got your paper kind of rolled, and you know, it's hard to get everything in form when it's not pre-made, and you're doing it on your own. So, and this is what crafting is all about. This is what makes it wonderful. And I know you guys are just going to love this DIY. And once you do your first one, believe it or not, it really moves really fast. And you can just put it together since you know your measurements, and you know what you need, and you know how it's supposed to look, and which way to bend this, and you know, curl that, and so forth. And as you can see, the tabs, this is why it's necessary. Now, really and truly, as you can see, what I was telling you before, so you may actually end up trimming off some of your paper around the edge, and mine just, you know, I made it like this because I wanted it to have that worn, tattered look. So unless you're just wanting yours to look like a perfect top hat, I don't know any top hats that look perfect. Even when they're brand new, it doesn't take long for them to wear because of the way you have to take them on and off and store them and so forth. And people don't wear tops hats as much as they used to. So now it's more for show than anything. But so at this point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to glue your strip around the outer surface, and I always start at the seam so that it will overlap, and that way everything just looks cohesive and it doesn't stand out. Now, the reason why you won't put this strip on before you do the brim is because the brim is actually going to ride up, kind of right up against on the edge, and we want, like I said, this to all look like it was just perfectly one piece and put together. And I actually used a marker on this particular hat. I had a blue paint marker and had to close it up because, well, I didn't pull and bring it over as I was gluing it. So just so you're ready, and you might want to have some little adornments, some little pieces, and holly leaf, or you know, pine tree, whatever it is you wish to adorn the side of your hat with. Or you may end up decorating the brim or putting something on the top. The sky's the limit, but I just thought you guys would really appreciate knowing how to make the felt hat, because they are so expensive. And if you're using your leftover scarf, we've got less than a quarter in this whole thing. I mean, the Manilla Folder is probably something you've got used laying around, or a piece of cardboard stock paper. Most time companies will send you a letter on cardstock. You could use that. I mean, if you're going to throw it in the trash, you could just use it to make this. So like I said, once again, and the reason why you want cardstock is because it is pliable. It is firm enough to keep the integrity, just like it's sitting here, but also at the same time to and give some firmness to the hat so that it keeps its nice little shape, but at the same time not so heavy and thick that you can't, you know, bend it and roll it around, you know. So at this point, I'm going to put my outer piece of the hat on, and then I will show you how to cut out the brim. Okay, so at this point, I have put my outer strip around here on the hat, and I've also gone around close to the edge. Well, I've got it glued down now, but where we didn't glue close to the outer circumference, and went ahead and put glue against the edge and the brim and kind of brought them together all the way around, and just made sure everything just looks really, really good. Your strip, if you cut it to 11 inches, it will be just enough to overlap right here. And with the, with the scarves, not everything's just perfect, so don't worry about it. Like I said, we're probably going to trim off a lot of that paper because I want mine to have that worn, tattered look. So it's not going to be just perfect, and that's the idea. We don't want it to be just perfect. So at this point, what you're going to do is get your fleece scarf back, or your felt, whichever one you're using, and you want to look right here. See where we've already cut our circle out. Wait a minute, let me get situated here. See where we've already cut our circle out. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our scissors. We're going to come out around an inch. Just, you know, you don't have to be perfect. Just kind of guess at it. And you're going to follow that curve an inch outward with your scissors. If I can get mine to cut some in crafts using it. And it needs to be 2 hands firm. And you're just going to keep going. And that's going to be your first, strip that you're going to use there to put as your brim of your hat. Okay, I hope they got that. All right, so I'm going to take, and if you bring this up to the hat and you've got your brim going here, what you want to do is you want to not exactly glue perfect here at the beginning, but kind of start at the edge, and you want to ride it up against the edge there. You want to kind of ride it up there. So maybe you start your glue underneath an inch away from the very tip, because you're going to crisscross that with another piece. And then what you're going to do is just kind of let that ride up on the edge there and glue it on. And it's going to fit because it's round. And you'll probably need probably 2 strips like that to glue it on. So I'm going to glue mine and come back and show you what I got. Okay, guys. As you can see right here, I've got that 1 strip glued on. And a few things I wanted to tell you. Now, I did not glue about 1 inch over before I started to glue. You're going to run it right up against the edge. See how I've done that? And when you put the glue on, you're not worried about these tabs. You're worried about the upper edge of your actual fleece piece. That's all you're worried about. Don't try to glue on these tabs, because that could, or if you do, put your glue, like I'm going to be holding this, you're going to put your glue like right up here, right up against the edging, and then you're going to put that brim and just kind of hold it gently and just place it up there and kind of, barely press, because we're going to trim those off. You see those, the extra tabs, and as you can see, it's not just perfect. There's tabs hanging out, and so that's why you don't want to glue down here, because you won't be able to, it'll be attached to your fleece and get it all tore up. So you can easily run your scissors right up under there, clip that off, and then go back and put you a little glue there just to hold it if you feel you need to. So I'm going to cut 1 more strip out of this piece, and we will be done with our little hat. All right, be right back. Also, I forgot to tell you, you see where we cut that out of that circumference, and it's kind of running at an angle? So this piece, you are going to glue the edge, and you're going to overlap it here. No big worries, and just cover up that angle, and then you'll be able to trim this, So we're going to, once again, go right up against the edge, and then we're going to put that on around, and then we will be able to meet up with this odd angle and fasten them together. By the way, if I didn't tell you already, I always start at the seam. Actually, I bring this a little further over, or a little further this way, one or the other, just right at that seam, so that all the seams are matching, even with the paper. On the other side, I just overlap the opposite way of the paper, and then that way it lays smooth and flat, and it doesn't bow up and stick up. And not that you can tell it anyway. I mean, you see how dark it is, and you can't even tell it. I mean, you have to be right up on it to see it. And the same thing with this. And believe it or not, brim hats are really kind of made this way, or we did when we did plays and theaters. We put our brims together this way. Okay, so let me finish this up and be right back. Okay, guys. If you've been following instructions and doing everything, we have our hat put together. You are going to have to trim and, clip and get everything cleaned up. And You know, you want to like glue. Well, that one got a little too glued, but what you want to do is go around and just go up under there and glue it so that it will stay flat. And that way, if you got anything pulled or stretched, you'll keep its shape and get it all straightened out. And at this point, you might want to consider, once you trim this up and clip off this excess paper and trim up, your brim and get everything looking right and not wonky, and just give it a good turn and give it a good look, and see how you want it to, just shape it up a little bit, as we do. Our magic tools, our scissors are magic tools. And so then take your, just adorn it at this point. You can just, select what you want. And the true test to see, as we got these measurements, they kind of look alike. But the true test is to take your lid and, whoops, didn't mean to drop that. And put your hat on it and just see if it fits. And, see how this one's kind of sinking in, but that's okay because it's going to be sitting on the actual lid. This one's a little bit bigger simply because we just did it by measurements and perfect and, blah, blah, blah. But this will fit on a mason jar really easy without any bite or pressure. And like I said, at this point, you might want to adorn it. When I adorn it, I do not put it on the seam. I put the seam in the back. I keep it in the back. And most top hats are adorned on the sides. My daughter actually liked this little hat being turned front ways on the Snowbird. So, let's bring the Snowbird back on the scene and show her off. And put her little lid back on here. And let's put her cap on. And as you can see, she liked it to where all the little trimmings and stuff were on the front of the cap. And not, I had it turned this away, I think, once, and then I had it on maybe over here. And it is hard to do this one-handed. That's swanny. So, you can put the hat on. Normally it just slides right on there, but okay, so then that way if you needed to, you could, move it around. You could turn it, just